It's been a lifelong ambition to have our own venues, you know. But not only for us, but also to create venues for other people. A show can close in 1 week, but in this theatre, you've got a chance of running it for 3 or 4 weeks and not at maybe a quarter of the budget you're going to spend in the big theatres in the city. That's why the Alex is born. And what we've done, we created this arts hub.
One of the first theatres in Melbourne was known as the Alex Theatre. And it happens to be the theatre that's now on the site of Her Majesty's.
The 3 theatres were by accident. It was meant to be 2 theatres.
Within the first week, we probably had our first bombshell, in a sense.
And what happened was, when we realised we couldn't remove a parting wall to create one larger theatre, it ended up being 3 theatres. Again, by fate, was the best thing that could actually happen.
So instead of a bigger space with maybe 800 or 900 seats, we now have 3 separate spaces, each with their own unique personality, their own demands, but their own capabilities. And that has been far more exciting for us than it was to just put together one big space.
The foyer was, as you know, it was previously a cinema and it was decked out as a cinema, so we had to change it completely. We wanted, when people came to the building, that it was a completely new experience. Second theatre is that beautiful mid-sized theatre. The stage is the same size as the 500-seat theatre. You can extend the stage by moving out 20 or 40 seats in the front and making it even a larger stage or a thrust stage. It's kept at screen as well, so it's also cinema as well.
It's going to be that space that is of great assistance also for development. This could be a place where people start their work, and if it really takes off, then they can transfer into the 500-seater. It's a space where we can be really helpful to productions because our 500-seater is more the commercial engine of the whole complex.
There was a bit of trouble. We were let down by a particular seat supplier. We were ready, and when we got to the wire, and he actually delayed us for some. When we got to the wire and the seats had to be organised, on the day they had to be organised to be here on time, he let us down. He couldn't perform. And so we were left stranded. So we actually got on a plane. I sent Richard on a plane. He went to China and Turkey and organised the seats we wanted for that particular theatre.
So I got on a plane, and within like 2 or 3 days, I'm in Guangzhou province, which is the centre of furniture production, if you like, in China. And so I went to quite a few of the factories. And I was amazed at the amount of production that comes from there. There was literally, as you're driving along the road, there is literally kilometre after kilometre of shops and factories for all kinds of furniture. And then every so often I'd see these signs for seating for cinemas and auditoriums. It was extraordinary.
But we were able to get them in time. The 500-seater, we actually only needed 500 seats because an off-Broadway theatre, meaning off-Broadway, is 500 seats. And the way we got around that was the fact that we were able to put a mezzanine in. We came up with this idea of sticking a mezzanine in. And it had to be, it was very difficult because it had to be a freestanding mezzanine. It couldn't have poles, it couldn't have supports, otherwise we'd have sightline problems with people who sat underneath the mezzanine. So it had to be designed in a certain way that was cantilevered off the back of the theatre. And we had that designed and built that way.
We were able to get some engineers to look at the situation we had, and it turned out that one of the advantages of being in an old cinema is that they've had to soundproof each one of these cinemas. And one of the ways they've done that is with very thick concrete walls. And as it turns out, these are structural concrete walls. So they are really strong. So with our engineers looking at that, they have been able to design a circle that has no supports at all, other than being bolted into the concrete wall.
If we want to extend the stage at the front for any production, so the stage itself is a very nice size, but if we need to extend the stage, if a group comes and says, I want a larger stage, we can actually take out the first 2 or 3 rows of that theatre. So we were lucky enough that we could do that within that space.
The stage itself is what we call a modular stage. So it can move, it can be narrowed, it can be widened, it can be extended out. So that has given us some great flexibility as well.
So we put new carpets, new seats in. Everything in this theatre is brand new, including the proscenium arches, the stages, everything's brand new. Each theatre is a separate experience. The black box room was a surprise because what originally happened was there were going to be only 2 theatres, and due to the folly of one of our engineers who missed the fact that there was a concrete wall in between 2 of the theatres which we were going to turn into one, we had to keep 3 separate theatres. But we were fortunate enough to be able to build what we wanted in the other 2 anyway. Then came the idea of having a wonderful black box which would be in the round. You could create whatever space you wanted in there. It could be used as a function room, it can be used for dance rehearsals or any rehearsals. The black box theatre itself is the size of the stage of the Princess Theatre. So you actually can rehearse a whole show in there, the size of the Princess Theatre stage.
We are so excited about our black box studio room because it's so flexible. What we've done is we've put a sprung floor down, so it's a fully sprung dance floor. So the Australian Ballet could rehearse there. You could do Chicago there, dance intensive shows. They could all rehearse there. And already we've had some very strong interest from major producers because there's a shortage of decent rehearsal space in Melbourne and Sydney. So this could be something that could actually even help bring major shows to Melbourne because they'll have a great rehearsal space to use. And in 3 hours, it can turn from one use to the other. And to help with that cabaret feel, we've put a bar in the back.
Yeah, I love the idea of that you don't always have to run into the foyer to get a drink or get something to eat when in a theatre, because a lot of people don't want to leave the actual theatre. So most of these will either have a mini bar or a portable bar that goes in, but the black box has a built-in bar so that you can run a function in there with your own bar running, or if our foyer is so busy during other shows, we can actually just open the black box theatre and use it as a foyer, extended foyer space. All the walls have been adorned with mirrors, which can be revealed or not revealed if you want to rehearse with mirrors, if you want to have a dance concert. We've kept the movie screen which comes out of the ceiling. You can watch movies in there, or you can use it as a cyc behind an actual stage. And the seating's stackable seating, so you can either have it in the round, have it at the end, have it in the thrust stage. Whichever way you like that to be, you can have it.
One of the other things that's really exciting is across all 3 venues, we're keeping the cinema screens. So at any moment, really, they could go from being a live space to a cinema.
The projection room, it was very difficult. At first, we didn't know what we wanted to do with the projection room. We knew that we had to keep the space, so we cleared out all the equipment. Nowadays, when we need to use projection equipment for film, we don't need the old bulky equipment that was there, and a lot of it can also be hung inside the theatre if we required. It doesn't have to be in the projection room as such. It can be, it's been designed so that it can be turned into 6 different dressing rooms with a curtain system that we put in there. It can be as a function room, it can be used as a green room, it can be used for many, many things. We do have 2 dressing rooms as such that'll house anywhere between 8 and 10 actors in each one. Now, another issue we had was that we actually had to get the actors onto the stage, or the stages. How do we do that?
We've had to create a pathway. So it's been quite a construction effort to build basically a false wall in our studio, so it now looks like it's just always been there, but it is a false wall. And then we go back a couple of metres, and then what is behind there is storage space at the bottom and a corridor up the top, so that the actors can get into the studio, but it then puts them in place to go to other corridors to take them straight to the stages. But what it means is that the dressing rooms, the permanent dressing rooms, are very close to the relative stages, but this will be actually close, guarded and protected. It's a little ironic because at the moment, as we're putting the venue together, it's very much you're focused on the day-to-day tasks. It's like you have these blinkers on. And it's not until people come to see the venue and you get to show them around and to discuss what's happening where, that you then get that reminder of what you're doing. I think with both Alex and myself, a couple of times we've had little chats, and we have had people be so enthusiastic about the work we're doing, and we kind of have to remind ourselves that that's where we're heading and that's what we're trying to achieve.
And we were very fortunate that Richard Fitzgerald, who we hired as our general manager, was general manager of Her Majesty's Theatre for many, many years and brought it to where it was today. He'd actually also been an advisor to the Northern Territory government in building and renovating 2 large theatres in the Northern Territory. So he had mountains and many, many years of experience behind him when it came to managing, running and renovating theatres. So Richard started with us from day one. We were able to get him on board from day one, which saved a lot of headaches.
So for us to be involved in something that I think and believe and hope will go on for decades and will actually help achieve great results across the board for audiences and for our industry is rather humbling. And I think, you know, while I've been lucky enough to work at iconic buildings, at this point in time, I feel that this is the one. This is the project that will actually have the greatest impact for many years to come.